Well, happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to the Football Wing. I'm Matt Park, joined by Tim Daoust today. The assistant head coach is in for Scott Schaefer, unavailable due to family reasons this morning. And Timmy, let's look at what you guys have ahead of you here. We'll get into your approach to the two games remaining, both on the road, Pittsburgh on Saturday and then Boston College next weekend. But let's look back a little bit, and how did you handle this bye week, which is unique, right? It was 9 straight weeks of playing games, and it's not like your game planning maybe so much this past week, getting healthy and all those things.
Yeah, there's a few different things we tried to get done. The 9-week stretch was a grind on the kids and the coaches and our families, everybody involved with it. But the first thing is refresh players, coaches, get some guys back out of those tubs and back on the field, and get them in the weight room, get them running a little bit. So to get refreshed, and that means hopefully get a shorter injury report as we move into this week, getting ready for Pitt. The second thing, the coaches spent some time on the road, trying to fill in some needs as we move forward. That was a big week and for that, and I think we did a tremendous job. A lot of good things came out of everybody getting out on the road as we looked at last week. And then, we eased into the Pitt game plan, where our kids have a great sense of who Pitt is, offensively, defensively, special teams-wise. So we sprinkle that in there with those guys. They have off today, and we'll get back at it full steam tomorrow.
Look forward to later in the week seeing that injury report, and it's got to be changed, hopefully, for the better, and we'll certainly parse through that when the time comes. Is it accurate to say that you and Pitt kind of play this game the same way and approach it the same way, and does that help when you talk about getting ready for them?
Well, I think philosophically we have a lot of similarities. We want to line up and who's the tougher team on both sides of the football. I think approach-wise, making it easier, I don't know, because their offense is really good. James Conner's the real deal, the experienced, big offensive line. Now kind of a dynamic quarterback, more so than last year. Is a great pocket passer. Now this young man can run the ball a little bit more. And then if you load up the box, the receiver does a great job for them. Defensively, they've been solid since Coach Christ has been there, and then they've done a great job. And our offense has their hands full that way. To say easy to prepare for, I don't know what the right word would be in preparation for them. We know who they are, they'll know who we are, and it'll be a battle of toughness.
I guess the reason I bring it up for that point, we'll get into Connor and company a bit later because he's obviously a handful, is that how do you spend last week? We talked about this with Schaefer going into last week, that typically in a bye situation, you're saying, hey, we're getting ready for the next opponent. We got 2 Tuesdays, 2 Wednesdays, 2 Thursdays. And it maybe was a little different this time because you're trying to coach up the younger players. You're getting deeper into the roster in terms of who's playing now because of the injuries. Yeah,
well, the kids, it's been great. With the shorter practices we had, there was high energy. The kids are moving around, and you get those young guys. And now that extra time is, hey, those guys that haven't got as much reps. JT Thomas, at linebacker. Talk about Donnie Simmons, Ryan Sloan on the defensive line. Guys that need more prep time, and we've given it to them, and they put good things on film. So, it won't be a complicated scheme, I don't think, moving in. We'll know who they are, and they'll know who we are, and we'll see how things play out.
Your defensive line group has been an impactful bunch over the course of the season. You're rotating different players in there. They've been playmakers at times. We've seen the plays by Robert Welsh and Micah Robinson and company, and the interior folks. Special teams, I know, probably got some attention from you and from your staff this week.
The special teams all year long, I think, for us, unfortunately, have been a roller coaster. There's been some great highs that we haven't experienced around here in the past, and then unfortunately some lows, and that got us in the Duke game. And those will get addressed. Some execution things we'll need to work on, but we just have to work to steady out the special teams. Make some plays on our end, but then the big thing is not give up explosive plays to the other unit. Now Pitt will pose some problems. They put Boyd back there as a return man in both games, and he's a solid football player. So we'll have our hands full on those guys. But as you look at injuries and depth, the 9 weeks in a row, and those trickle down to the special teams, and those younger guys are playing that maybe hadn't played, and so we'll have to work through that, and we will, and hopefully we'll get some guys back to help us out in the special teams.
I know it's your primary responsibility, but a lot of coaches are involved in special teams. One thing that makes that unique and it makes you interesting to talk to today is that special teams involves the whole roster, right? All different sizes of bodies and different formations and different things you're trying to get done there. So if there are injuries, the trickle-down effect really impacts you.
No, it's huge. It's huge. If you look at running backs, DBs, linebackers, defensive defensive, offensive line, and you're talking about in the protection units and things like that. So, it's people say, oh, shoot, somebody got hurt. Well, it's an opportunity for somebody else to earn his meal ticket around here too. And that's the way we have to approach it with the kids. And they've been great. We just got to iron out some things moving these last 2 games.
All right, Pittsburgh still has hopes of making a bowl. Close losses in the last couple of weeks. Their turnover margin for the year is -7, which really has not helped them. James Conner, though, what a beast. 2 touchdowns in 4 straight games. He's had 7 over the last 2 weeks. He's been a monster.
Yeah, he's been a monster in the yards rushing. They're not fancy. They lined up against Duke. They lined up against North Carolina and ran the same plays over and over. They had their plan, and they worked their plan extremely well offensively. They run the football. There's no disguising it. They put their hands in the dirt, and they huddle like old school. They use 2 backs like old school, and they come and get you. That was their formula when Coach Chris was at Wisconsin, and he's continued that here at Pitt. And now you're starting to see he's getting those bodies in there that he likes. And their system offensively, they are really rolling, and we've got our hands full.
And if they do throw it, Tyler Boyd is a dynamic player on the outside. Lastly, just a thought on what you've seen in their defense. I know, typically speaking, you're focused on the other team's offense as the D-line coach, but what marks them right now defensively?
Well, I haven't spent much time on them. I've seen them in crossover when we were preparing for some other games. They're sound. They're similar to us in a 4-down, 4-3 defense. Coach House, their defensive coordinator, does a great job scheming those guys up and getting after people on 3rd down. And I think he'll do the same thing for us. They'll try to stop the run early on and try to get us behind the chains. But they'll come ready to play. They'll do a nice job.
All right, good job filling in there, Timmy, and we'll let you get back to work.
All right, thanks, Matt.
Okay, that's Tim Daoust, assistant head coach. We'll hear much more from Scott Schaefer throughout the week, leading up to a 3:30 kickoff at Heinz Field this Saturday.